Hello everyone, welcome back to the 2018 Granny Square Crochet Along. Today we are making this gorgeous square. It has so much texture going on. It is beautiful. I love it. It looks quite complex, but actually it's really quite simple. It can be a bit tricky for the first couple of rows, but then after that it really is quite simple and quite simply gorgeous, and the back's got a really nice texture as well. So obviously you could work this in as many colours as you like. It would be pretty awesome if you worked one side in one colour and one side in the other. That could be pretty cool. Anyway, let's get straight into making this square. So grab your hook, yarn, scissors, cup of tea, coffee, and let's get started. Okie dokie, to start today's square you want to chain 25, and then we're going to do single crochets and chains. We're going to do a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So second chain along, do your single crochet and into the next one as well. And then we're going to chain one, skip one, single crochet in the next. Chain one, skip one, single crochet in the next. Chain one, skip one, single crochet in the next. One, two, three. Chain one, that's our fourth chain, skip one, single crochet in the next. Chain one, that's our fifth chain, and single crochet in each of the next two chains. Sorry, we should skip one first. Skip one. So we've done our last chain, skip a chain at the bottom, and then do a single crochet in each of the next two. Sorry about that. So we had two at the beginning, and then we had chain, stitch, chain, stitch, chain, stitch 5 times, and then 2 single crochets, and then we're going to chain one and skip one and do a single crochet in the next. Chain one, skip one, single crochet in the next. Do this all the way down to the end, and at the end you will chain one and then do a single crochet in the last 2. And there we go. So you should have now 14 single crochets. Don't count this chain one at the end. 14 single crochets and 10 chain one spaces. Okay, row 2 is going to be exactly the same. Chain one, turn your work, and then you're going to do a single crochet in every single crochet and a chain over the top of every chain. So you're going to do 2 single crochet here, and then you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of chain and single crochet. So 1, go into that single crochet, oops. 2, 3, 4, and a 5th chain, and then you're going to do 2 single crochets next to each other, and then again you're going to do 5 chains, single crochets, and remember you've got 2 single crochets at the end. So once again you'll have 14 single crochets and 10 chain spaces. And there we go, at the end of row 2. Not much to see yet, But now is where the fun comes in on row 3. Okay, row 3, this is where we start a bit more fun. So we're going to chain 1 and turn and do a single crochet in the first 2 stitches, and we will start every row just in that way, and we will finish every row with 2 single crochets as well. So we're going to chain 5, and then we're going to skip 2 chain spaces and find the third. 1, 2, 3. And if you look here, we have our chain of row 1, and then we have our chain of row 2. So you can see there, chain of row 2, chain of row 1. You want to go around the chain of row 1 and do a simple slip stitch. There we go. Okay, and then chain 5. You're always going to be working down 1 row below the row you would normally work on for these chains and for your slip stitch. Okay, just to remember that you're always going to slip stitch 2 rows below. So now we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. So you've got a stitch back onto row 2, sorry. So you're going to skip this stitch right next to that space, and then the next one, and then you're going to do a single crochet in that middle stitch and in the stitch next to it. And you're always going to do a single crochet in those middle 2. So you'll have 2 on the right, or if you're left-handed it will be on the left. So 2 on the end, 2 in the middle, and 2 on the other end. Okay, and then chain 5 again. Once again, you want the third chain space. So we've got 1 little chain space right next to us here. 1, 2, 3. And you want to go into the row below and do that slip stitch. There we go, chain 5. And then you'll be skipping the next 2 stitches, so 1, 2, and then in the last 2 stitches doing your single crochet. As simple as that. There we go. So there's not much of the pattern to see yet, but there will be much more to see as we work this pattern up. Okay, so row 5 is where we change it up a bit now. We're going to do single crochets on the outside, in the centre, and on this side. But in between, we're going to be doing double crochets and our chain space. We're still doing our chain spaces all in between the stitches, but instead of single crochets, we're going to do double crochets. Okay, so in each side there will be 4 double crochets, but I'm going to talk you through that now to sort my yarn out. Look, I've got a big tangle here. I've pulled too much out. Okay, so as I said before, we're going to start with a chain 1 and turn, and those first 2 single crochets. And then we are going to, let me just find my place on the pattern. 1, 2, 3. So this is row 4, isn't it? Did I say row 5? It's row 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Row 4. Okay, so we're going to chain 1 and then into the stitches here of row 2. We are going to do a double crochet into that first stitch. So we've worked into these 2 here, then we've got our chain space, and then we've got our next stitch. So we're going to do a double crochet into that stitch. Don't tangle this chain 5 with that stitch, just work into the stitch. Okay, and then chain 1 and then do a double crochet into the next stitch. So skip your chain space and then into the next stitch. Double crochet. Okay, and then chain 1, and then you're going to do a double crochet into the next single crochet on that row, chain 1, and a double crochet into the next stitch on that row, which is just there. Oops. Okay, so you should have done 4 double crochets so far. Let's just have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 single crochets at the end here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 with a chain in between each. Okay, so then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do a single crochet into each of the next 2 single crochets, and these will be the single crochets of row 3. So onto our last row, so single crochets on this very last row here. Okay, so do those 2 single crochets. There we go. So your double crochets have gone 1 row lower, and then we've done the single crochets on our last row. Okay, so then we're going to repeat that along the next side. So chain 1, oops, and then I'll make that chain a bit bigger. Okay, chain 1, and then double crochet into your next single crochet of row 2. Oops, if I can get into that stitch. There we go. Okay, chain 1, double crochet into the next single crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next one, chain 1, double crochet into the next single crochet, chain 1, and do a single crochet in each of the last 2 single crochets on our last row. Okay, and again you should have 4 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and your chain spaces. So here is what we have on row 4. Okay, and this is the front. So you can now see how these chains are coming down. I'll turn this a bit. You can see how these chains are coming down into that V, but on each side. There we go. Okay, row 5. Row 5, we're going to do some more of these chain 5s, and what we're going to do is, as usual, chain 1, turn your work, I've already turned my work, and then do your first 2 single crochets, and then you're going to, let me just check where I am, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so chain 5, and then you are going to look at row 2. So the easy way to know is it's the row above where we did our slip stitch for this row here. Okay, so the row above that, which is row 2, or the row below this space here, is where we want to do our slip stitch. There we go, and chain 5. And then, as before, we're going to do our 2 middle single crochets. So they're much more easy to spot now. So we're going to do single crochet in those 2, and and chain 5. And once again, come over to this side, and you want the chain space above where you last slip stitched, or just below this middle one here. So the one from row 2, and do a slip stitch, and then chain 5, and do your last 2 single crochets. How easy was that? It looks like a complicated pattern, but once you've got those initial rows worked, it's actually not too difficult. So our next row, row 6, we're going to repeat the double crochet row. So I'll talk you through that, and I'll show you this once again, and then I will leave you on your merry way. So for row 6, we are going to, guess what, chain 1, turn your work, do those first 2 single crochets. It's like a rhythm now. And then chain 1, and we're going to do those double crochets again. So this is so much easier now that it's double crochet, so much easier to see what you're doing. So chain 1, every chain 1 goes over the chain space, and every double crochet goes into the last double crochet. So double crochet into the top of that first double crochet. Chain 1, double crochet into the top of the next double crochet. Chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet. Chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet. Chain 1, and then you're going to do your 2 single crochets on the top of this last row. So 2 single crochets in the center, and chain 1, and then back down to the row below, chain double crochet into the double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet. Oops, not like that, we don't. Excuse me. This is what I get for not having a cup of coffee nearby. Okay, double crochet into that stitch. Okay, chain 1, double crochet into the last double crochet, chain 1, and do your last 2 double crochets on this row at the top. And there we go. Nice and simple. So much easier now that it's double crochets. You can see those stitches and spaces so much better. And there we go. All ready to do some more of those chains, those V's on the front. How lovely. Okay, I'm going to talk you through that V row once more, and then I will leave you to it. So chain 1, turn your work, 2 single crochet. And then you're going to chain 5. And then you're going to find this chain above these last 2. Now this is the where these 2 will have slightly more space between them, just because we're now working into our double crochets, but then it will be more even as we go. So you're going to work into this second chain space down and do a slip stitch. Okay, and then chain 5. And then do your 2 single crochets on the top row. And then chain 5. And then you're going to slip stitch in this chain space above your previous slip stitch. And chain 5, and and then do your last 2 single crochet of that row, and that is your pattern, and I think it is gorgeous. I love this. So you'll have more of a space here, but on the rest of the rows they will all be exactly the same spacing. How gorgeous is this going to look when it's all completed? I love it. So there we go, and the back got some nice texture as well. There we go. Okay, so the width of mine is almost at my 15 centimeters or 6 inches, you need to remember not to do your chains too tight, it does pull in a bit, but it's almost at my 15 or 6 inches, so I might put a single crochet border on this. We'll see what it's like at the end. What you want to do is measure the width of your work, and then continue repeating these 2 rows until the height is almost the same as the width. Okay, when it's almost the same as the width, you need to stop once you've done one of these V rows. Okay, and then on the very last row, instead of doing double crochets and chain 1s, we're going to go back to doing single crochet and chain 1. Okay, just to finish it off so we don't have a big empty gap at the top. So I'll come back and do that row with you once I've worked up to my 15 centimeters. I'll come back and do that last row with you. So just repeat these 2 rows of the chain 5s and of the double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Okay, rewind the video if you need a bit of a reminder, and then I will see you in a few minutes. Well, in a few seconds for you. Okay, I am back with my square and it is looking gorgeous. I love this. So pretty. And it looks so much more complicated than it really is. I love it, love it, love it. So, as I said, when the height of your square becomes almost the same as the width of your square, it's time to do that final row. You've probably already done it if you remembered what I said at the beginning. You want to do your chain 5 V row. Oops, and then when you chain 1 and turn, instead of doing a double crochet row, we're going to do a single crochet row. So it's exactly the same as you've been doing all the way up your square. You're just going to come down here and chain 1 and then go into your stitch. But instead of doing a double crochet there, as you have been, just do a single crochet in chain 1. And that's as simple as this is. Nothing complicated, nothing fancy, just single crochets and chain 1s. And you will have a gorgeous, gorgeous square at the end of it. So I'm just going to finish this row. If your square is not big enough, then you could of course do a border round. I haven't put a border round in the pattern because this was quite a quick inclusion of doing this square. I had to quickly change square at the last moment, but we've done lots and lots of border rounds on squares before today, so if you've been following us, you probably are quite used to putting a border on now. All you need to do if you want to do a border is you could just do 3 stitches, whether single crochet, double crochet in your corner, and then 1 in each stitch and 1 in each chain along the top, and then you could probably put 1 in the side of each row as you go down, and then the same along the bottom, 1 in each chain and 1 in each stitch, and then up the side. So that is the end of our square for today. I'm going to fasten this off And I'm not going to fasten this off because I'm not quite sure where I've put my scissors. But I hope you've enjoyed making this square up with me. I think you'll agree it's such a gorgeous square. It's got a wonderful texture and it looks so impressive. And we know the secret that it's actually not that hard. So I can't wait to see your squares in the group. If you have enjoyed this and found it useful and helpful, then please click that like button and give us a thumbs up. And until next time, just keep hooking and don't let your tea get cold.